So here in this video we move towards another method of reproduction in your chapter, that is sexual reproduction. So in sexual reproduction, two germ cells are always involved. Female gamete and male gamete are those two germ cells. So male and female gametes are nothing but germ cell. Two main process occurs in sexual reproduction. First one is the gamete formation, means formation of germ cell. So gametes are formed by meiosis. Remember, gametes are formed by meiosis. So in meiosis, what actually happens? Chromosome number, so the chromosome which are present, chromosome number is reduced to half. So it becomes half of the actual number. Hence, haploid gametes, haploid means half, haploid gametes are formed. Now we'll turn towards the next main process in sexual reproduction, that is fertilization, which is there on the next page. So here we are with fertilization. So in fertilization, a diploid zygote, zygote means combination of male and female gamete. So a diploid zygote is formed in this process by, here it is given, by union of haploid male and haploid female gamete. Afterwards, this particular zygote divides by not meiosis but by mitosis, and embryo is formed. Embryo is formed. This particular embryo afterwards develop to form new individual. So two parents, that is male parent and female parent, are involved in this type of reproduction. Fusion, fusion means combination, fusion of male gamete of male parent and female gamete of female parent occurs. So this particular process is called as fertilization. Due to this, what happens due to this? New individual always has the recombined genes, so genes of both the parents, male parent and female parent. Hence the new individual shows similarities with the parents. So it shows similarities, सारखेपणा दाखवतो for some character, but has some characters different than both parents. The characters which are not there in with male and female parent, those characters are also being shown by this particular new individual. Diversity in living organism occurs. So diversity occurs due to this particular genetic variation. So what is the advantage of genetic variation that we are going to see? Genetic variations help the organism to adjust with the changing environment. So environment keep on changing, and this particular genetic variation help that organism to adjust with the changing environment and thereby to maintain their existence. So they keep on existing because of the genetic variation. So because of this or due to this, plants and animals can save themselves from being extinct. Extinct म्हणजे नष्ट होण्यापासून ते वाचतात, only because of genetic variations. Now the first part in sexual reproduction that we are going to study is sexual reproduction in plants. So for this purpose, it is said that flower is the structural unit for sexual reproduction in plants. That means flowers are responsible for sexual reproduction in plants. It consists of, it means the particular flower, it consists of four floral, floral म्हणजे फुलांचे, four floral whorls. They are calyx, remember this one is calyx, corolla, androecium or androecium. ANDROE or ANDRAE. So androecium or androecium and gynoecium. So they are arranged in a sequence from outside to inside. So initially calyx is the outer part, corolla next part, then androecium and finally gynoecium. Out of these, androecium and gynoecium or androecium and gynoecium, they are called as essential whorls because they are required for sexual reproduction, because they perform the function of reproduction, whereas calyx and corolla are called as accessory whorls. They are not involved in sexual reproduction because they are responsible for protection of inner whorls. So these two, calyx and corolla, protect inner whorls, androecium and gynoecium. Now remember, members of calyx are called as sepals and members of corolla are called as petals. And these petals, मराठीमध्ये आपण ज्याला पाकळ्या असं म्हणतो, फुलांच्या पाकळ्या. So members of corolla are variously colored. They are multicolored. So here is the diagram of a flower. This particular part is corolla and these are petals. Calyx, green part is called as calyx and the individual parts of calyx are sepals and मराठी ज्याला आपण दांडी म्हणतो, फुलाची दांडी, it is called as pedicel. This one, stigma, style, together with ovary, this inner green part is nothing but gynoecium or gynoecium, that means female part, whereas these parts, each filament, it is called as androecium. Flower is called as bisexual flower if both essential whorls, androecium and gynoecium, are present in the same flower. Example which is given to you is hibiscus. मराठीमध्ये आपण ज्याला जास्वंद असं म्हणतो. A flower is called as unisexual flower if any one of the above mentioned two whorls, that means androecium and gynoecium, are present in the flower. If only androecium is present, it is called as male flower. And if only gynoecium, that means female part, if only gynoecium is present, the flower is called as female flower. Example which is given to you is papaya. In this particular diagram also, you will be able to see both the male and female flowers present in papaya. This particular flower is male flower which is present in papaya, whereas this particular flower is female flower in papaya. So this male flower have only androecium, whereas this female flower has only gynoecium. But in hibiscus, both male and female parts, or androecium and gynoecium, both are present. So such type of flower is also called as complete flower. This particular flower is called complete flower because it has all the four whorls. So in next video or in next part now, you will be able to see a flower with its different whorls. So here we are. One hibiscus flower is there. So this particular part is calyx. This colored part is nothing but corolla. Here, this one is the male part or androecium, whereas this particular part is the female part or gynoecium. So this particular flower has four whorls. See here, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. They are arranged from outer to inner parts. Now we'll separate those parts and study one by one. So here we are with the separation of different whorls. Look at, you can see all the 4 whorls here. This one is the calyx. These are the petals of corolla. मराठीमध्ये आपण ज्याला पाकळ्या असं म्हणतोय, corollaच्या या पाकळ्या. This particular part is the male part or androecium, whereas this part is the gynoecium. So calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, all these whorls can be seen here. Each filament of androecium can be seen here, whereas those stigma which are given in your textbook also, that also can be seen in this particular flower. This one is the ovary. This one is the ovary. Even the pedicel, or मराठीमध्ये आपण दांडी म्हणतो, फुलाला दांडी असणे. So pedicel can also be seen. So this one is the pedicel. The speciality of this particular hibiscus flower is it has 2 calyx, outer calyx and inner calyx. So this outer calyx is called as apicalyx. So this one is the apicalyx, whereas the inner calyx is called as only calyx. So apicalyx and calyx. These are 4 whorls of a flower, or 4 whorls of a complete flower. Many flowers have the stalk, मराठीत ज्याला आपण दांडी म्हणतोय ती असते. It is for support, and this particular stalk किंवा दांडी is also called as pedicel. So here pedicel can be seen, and such flowers, so hibiscus flower, such flowers are called as pedicellate. These flowers are called pedicellate, whereas flowers without stalk, ज्या फुलांना दांडी नसते, so flowers without stalk are called as sessile flowers. SESSILE. They are called as sessile flower. Now androecium is the male whorl, and its members are called, you can see so many members of androecium. So members of androecium are called as stamens. So these are stamens, whereas gynoecium, which is the female whorl, and members of gynoecium, here you can see 1 2 3 4 5. So members of gynoecium are called as carpels. CARPELS. These carpels may be separate, just like you can see here. These members may be separate or may be united. And as I already told you, ovary is always present on the, or at the end of, or at the basal end of the carpel. So at the basal end, base म्हणजे तळाशी, basal end of the carpel have ovary. So here you can see these are the carpels, and look at the basal end, which is ovary. So in flowers, pollen grains from anther means male part, are transferred to stigma, which is sticky part of female gynoecium. So they are transferred to stigma. So this transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called as pollination. So one more process, pollination. So pollination means transfer of pollen grains from where? From anther to stigma. But this particular pollination occurs with the help of abiotic agents which are non-living. So abiotic agents, wind or water, and sometimes biotic agents like insects and other animals. So when insects sit on the flower, these pollen grains stick to their wings or to their legs. Stigma becomes sticky. So stigma becomes sticky. Sticky म्हणजे चिकट. During pollination, so pollens germinate. Germinate म्हणजे त्यांना कोंब फुटतात. So pollens germinate when they fall upon such sticky stigma. So when these pollen grains fall on stigma, they germinate. Pollen tube reaches the embryo. Here you will be able to see a pollen grain falls on the stigma. Now here this particular pollen grain germinate and the pollen tube. So pollen tube reaches up to ovary. So a long pollen tube and two male gametes are formed. The pollen tube carries two male gametes. Pollen tube reaches the embryo which is present here. I'll show you. So here. So pollen tube reaches the embryo sac via style. So it reaches the embryo through style. Tip of the pollen tube burst and both male gametes are released in embryo sac. Sac म्हणजे पिशवी ज्याला आपण म्हणूया. One male gamete unites with the egg cell to form zygote. So male gamete unite with egg cell. Egg cell means female gamete to form a diploid zygote. So this particular process is called fertilization that we have already seen. Now second male gamete, because there were two gametes. So second male gamete unite with two polar nuclei and endosperm is formed. Endosperm means outer covering. As two nuclei participate in this process, it is also called as double fertilization, because fertilization happens two times. One male gamete combines with the egg to form zygote, whereas another male gamete unite with two polar nuclei to form endosperm. So this particular diagram shows double fertilization.